Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the European Challenger Series Qualifier group stage. And while the team's set up for champion select, let's take a look at their starting lineup. So, on the blue team, it is G2 Vodafone with Sendo in the top lane, Inkos in the jungle, Mini Duke in the mid lane with So in ADC, and his support, Falco. And
I'm gonna try
I'm so happy his name is Falco. But this team, despite having a great support name, had really good team fighting yesterday. So it was good to watch them kind of more focus on not only team fighting but also around the dragons. Unfortunately, that didn't lead to a win.
Yes, they couldn't deal with Maus and how Maus was skirmishing early and how Maus was trying to push down objectives, get towers. We did just see Maus not do that in that game, so maybe turnabout's fair play in today's series. One thing is for certain, though, watching it, the AD carry So kind of impressed, at least with what he was trying to do yesterday. Played the Kalista, was one of the only people really to, was the only player to play Kalista. So I enjoyed watching him, and I want to see how he can progress now against today's opponents, and that is EURONICS Gaming on the red side. In the top lane is Phones, Obvious in the jungle, Magifelix in the mid lane, Cedrin as AD carry, and Hado as his support.
You may remember the game from yesterday, the 63-minute epic. Very slow game, very slow game. But they had a champion who benefited from that, which was Phone Swain. Unfortunately, he kind of ate a binding and then got hit by the culling 30 times and then keeled over and died. And that was kind of all their chances gone. It was funny because he had the Zhonya's as well. He just didn't choose to click it, which, I'll be honest, you don't expect to get 100-0'd by a culling, but that really did cost them the game from there.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that the armor reduction means that by the end of it, if you don't have any armor to begin with, it's just like tick, 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 tick. Oh no, I'm dead. But you know, it wasn't only that. I feel like there were other issues when you look at the Alistair. Hado attempted to engage a couple of times, which was just reaching a little too far, and just having these engages that didn't go their way, and then having Baron stolen away from them, kind of lengthened the game. I thought I turned 25 yesterday. I felt like I turned 35 watching that game at some parts. So I'm hoping we have a bit of a shorter game today. But certainly, we saw some good stuff out of ESG. I want to see them change up picks and bans a little bit. I liked that they were being more versatile, perhaps, than some of the other teams, and see what they can do today. That's true.
So we'll just see if they can do a little bit more. Despite the name, Falco was not amazingly impressive. He was just like, he did pretty well. Not top tier just yet, but he'll rise through the ranks, I'm sure. Maybe a couple more patch changes, etc. There wasn't a lot of standouts from G2 Vodafone. I think, as you mentioned, So was probably the biggest. One play that comes to mind was the Dragon fight. That he literally just kited everyone around, renned on 3 players, and won that fight basically for the team. So maybe we can see a bit more of that. He was, as you mentioned, the only player to pick up Kalista. So I'm not sure there's enough fear from EURONICS to take that one away from him here. But still, it is definitely a pick that he can do well on. So Sivir actually going to be the first ban away from G2. Azir is going to be the next one from EURONICS, which we're going to say every champion select because it's true. He's been banned a lot. He's been played a lot in this tournament over the last couple of weeks. So still good. Still benefited from item changes. Just as good. Alistair actually banned away from Hado.
And again, just from talking to people, everybody thinks that Alistair's falling off somewhat, just slightly less potency in the game. But then again, I guess we're in a situation where so much can be played. Why not just take away something that they do play? Because it's not like Alistair is basically going to lose you a game if you play him. It's not like that level where it's just like, just don't play Alistair.
I mean, it's not like a Rek'Sai.
He's still fun.
So,
wow, I see how it is.
I'm sorry.
One loss on the board and Pulse is like, Rek'Sai's going to lose you the game.
Because I love it as well, that's the problem. But Nidalee comes out as the next ban from EURONICS. That will be aimed at Inkos. Maybe say he played Gragas yesterday, actually. Didn't even play the Nidalee, but I know it's in his arsenal. Final ban will be against Magifelix will be the LeBlanc, so I'm going to keep that one away from him.
So where does that leave us? Ryze is available. We saw Ryze earlier today just completely dominate a game. Ryze into Lissandra. And just there was this one point where there was like a 1v1 top lane and Ryze just walks out of a bush and Lissandra dies. So will we see the Ryze? Okay, there's the ban. I think it's fairly warranted right now. Not too many matchups are particularly good into Ryze if the Azir is banned. So EURONICS had to ban both, unfortunately. So I mean, gave G2 Vodafone the option had it been available.
That is true. First pick going to be the Lucian coming out from Sendo. Interesting to see what he'll pair that with. I mean, Braum's still available if he wants that, but we have seen some teams transition to those range supports as well, so we might see that come out. EURONICS, you have basically the pick of the litter. We've seen a lot of priority on the Trundle, which has been locked in from blue side and red side as the first rotation pick.
Okay, so flexing the Trundle plus the Kindred. We've had surprisingly little Kindred. Impaler played a game yesterday, first game of the day, I believe it was. Maybe this, it was actually number 3. But still, Kindred obviously will have changed slightly now. No Devourer. We're onto the Blood Razor out of the jungle. So slight different playstyle, gives you a little bit more option actually to gank, since it's not the stacking kind where it's just like, hold on guys, I'm just gonna wait for 20 minutes and then I'll come out with like stacks out of everywhere.
It's just like, it literally comes out of the jungle stacked, but not anymore.
That's locked.
Wow, Bard is going to come out as the next rotation onto Falco, so maybe he can make some plays. That would be pretty fun to see in game. Lysandra as well into the mid lane, most likely for Mini-Duke. Could be put on top lane, but not really seen top lane Lysandra in such a long time.
Very, very long time since we've seen that. But this Bard Lucian duo setup, I mean, we've seen the adaptation now of Lucian's going a different build, so with the Bard alongside it, that's going to be so much lane dominance in one bot lane that I wonder where ESG are going to go from this. Will they go like the Ezreal route and say, well, I'm just going to sit back and you do you for a while. You'll have the harassment, but we'll never be in range.
That'd be the option.
Or I guess they could go for
dominate the lane.
You want lane dominance?
Yeah, we'll give you lane dominance.
Okay, and it's locked as well. So yeah, ESG are going to fight fire with fire at this point. And go, what is the most annoying lane to play against now that Lulu support isn't seen? Okay, Caitlyn Janna.
Yep.
I guess Caitlyn Bard probably is more annoying, but...
Yeah, I think so. But if Bard's taken away, then Janna's the next best thing.
But certainly, like, there's going to be a situation in this laning phase where it's like, somebody steps on a Caitlyn trap, the shield goes on the Caitlyn, and just boom, somebody loses like 400 health in the lane.
I mean, someone's going to have to fight in the bot lane, basically, because like Lucian and Bard need to win the lane, so they're going to be aggressive, and Caitlyn needs to hit people to win the lane. So we're going to see some interaction down there for sure. 20 seconds remaining on G2 Vodafone's picks. So we're going to see what they're going to be locking in here. What's still available? They're looking for a top laner and a jungle. And
now that Janna's locked in, it actually locks Trundle into the top lane. So we might see the return of the Gnar that we have been seeing, and as say that it gets hovered over. Gnar into Trundle did very well yesterday. Just being able to bully around the melee matchup was very, very annoying to deal with. And then you give Gnar the Rift Herald buff, and it's like, well, now I just win all of
it's like that one phase that maybe Trundle can fight back. It's just gone. It's just not there anymore. I think that is a Graves looking for the jungle. So
it is.
Graves coming back in there, and then we have the full setup coming in from G2 Vodafone, and just waiting on that last one coming in from EURONICS. Not going to be Yasuo, unfortunately. Closest we saw seeing Yasuo was just in the Talia lore, and that's we're not going to see Yasuo for a while. But mid lane, what else is still available?
There's not many matchups into Lysandra that you can kind of have any kind of kill pressure or anything like that at all. So they're not going to go that route. Probably take a wave clear mid laner. Victor is available, if they want to go that route with Ryze, Azir banned, LeBlanc's gone, so you can't have any kind of assassin potential. So unless there's something funky that comes out, it's just going to be a wave clear mid laner that's like, I'm just going to sit back and let you do you.
Well, you know, Victor most likely going to be locked in here from EURONICS. 1 second remaining. And locked in.
What this puts EURONICS in a situation, what that they can do right now is have pretty much 2 lanes never pushing towards them. You've got a Victor, you've got a Caitlyn. Still, both of them have pretty spectacular wave clear. Victor's was hit a little bit, but still is pretty much the same when it comes to being able to hold people back. On the other side, though, G2 Vodafone, look at this teamfight setup that they've got. They've got Lysandra, they've got the Bard ultimate, the Tempered Fate to get them into fights, and then as soon as that initial crowd control has landed, the Gnar comes in with Mega Gnar, slam them into a wall, see what you can get done, and then burst them down with the Lucian and the Graves. So there is a strong sense of team fighting on the side of G2 if they can get to EURONICS, but EURONICS, they've got the Kindred ult, they've got the Janna to disengage and at least keep people alive. So it could be an explosive game if we get to team fights.
That's true, but I think we're going to see like lane dominance as well. People fight over lane dominance in the bottom lane for sure. When you have like a Bard Lucian, you're not going to just sit there and farm all day, especially when you're against like a Caitlyn Janna. Mid lane, I got Lysandra, so hit level 6. Graves Lysandra was one of those big combos we saw in like MSI, and even before that, where just pop the Lysandra or pop the Gragas ultimate or the Graves ultimate, and the person's dead essentially. So like 2 sources of damage. So We could see a lot of ganks in the mid lane. Victor as well, he's going to be trying to clear it as much as possible. Want to see what summoner spell he brings to the table, because last time we saw Barrier, but that was against Fizz.
Cleanse is going to be the one into the Lissandra.
Makes
Not
sense.
Really too surprising in that situation. It's just like, I can either take Cleanse and just make sure I never get ulted, or I can try and play a side lane when they realistically can just clear them by running up there. So at this point, we talked about a team fight up against, you know, a little bit more scaling when it comes to the Victor, the Caitlyn, but lane dominance at the same time.
I believe that's further of battle actually on Gnar. So because sometimes we see further. Most of the time we see Grasp dying. As that one in laning phase. So going to be looking for a little bit more damage, but when you get to Trundle, I mean, what's Trundle really going to do until you get to like pretty far into the game? And then, as you mentioned, if you do get that Herald buff, then you're always going to win against Trundle. So,
and I guess that's the other thing right now. Realistically, when you look at it like the Gnar into the Trundle matchup, you realistically aren't looking for a prolonged fight. So Grasp is nice to just get a little bit of regen, but we've already seen how much damage Gnar has when it comes to the 1 versus 1. You get the 3 stacks on Hyper, you get the extra damage, you get the Rift Herald, you hit them with the Boomerang Blade, and then you just run away. Because you don't want to fight for too long, otherwise you turn into Mega Gnar and then can't fight you anymore. Because you subjugate everything
like,
back.
oh, your melee range and have more resistances.
Yeah, so I guess it kind of makes sense somewhat for Sendo. He doesn't really want to last too long, just wants to burst him down, hit him early. Get that extra bit of damage on some of his autos.
What else have we got? We've got Lissandra against Victor. Pre-6, not a lot going to happen.
Post-6, not a lot going to happen.
Well, maybe Incos coming in for a gank. Not in lane. Definitely not in the 1v1. But if the junglers get involved, maybe we can see something. Bot lane, So and Falco going to be playing a pretty aggressive lane. And we're not going to have a lane swap. So we're going to see the 2 versus 2. So we'll see if anything happens down there. Going to be just everyone helping out their junglers, doing the right thing as a top lane citizen of the top lane island.
Citizen.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's a population size of 1. Kind of like a resort of sorts. Maybe not for phones. He's going to be hit a lot by Gnar in this laning phase. Falco now coming down. And I think they both went for camps as well. So that's going to be the fast level 2s from both AD carries. So not giving it to Bardo.
Nope. And both supports are just going to be standing here like, well, let's not fight yet. I'm not feeling this. Don't want to until level 2. And honestly, Caitlyn Janna is just going to harass from range. Sidesteps across. Shield goes on, lands a couple, can't burst through that shield, so good luck trying to deal with that Caitlyn for now.
I mean, the annoying thing about that lane when you're the shorter range lane but better at trades is if you don't get a play off, over time you're going to get ground down by the Caitlyn. So the onus is on you to make something happen, because right now you can see Sedrin already pushing in this lane. So
that's the thing, though. If Falco does manage to catch a Cosmic Blinding or that Piercing Light, as you just saw, pretty much had the money shot right there, got 2 minions and the harass damage. Like, there are still ways for G2 Vodafone in this bottom lane to actually still compete, but it kind of relies on Janna missing the shield timing or them bursting through the shield, maybe getting the stun.
Yeah, that was the trade they were looking for.
But this is actually pretty decent, because if you notice what happened there, the cannon minion actually aggroed onto Sedrian very early, got 3 or 4 hits out. So that's a fair amount of damage that got traded that Sedrian realistically shouldn't have taken, just because he threw out that auto attack and then had to kind of reposition in the lane.
I'm glad we're looking at bot lane, because honestly, not a lot is happening mid lane, not a lot is happening top lane either, and the junglers are just taking camps. So really, all of the action is down bot lane. But it was always cool to see the micro interactions. I find them very interesting to watch, at least in the 2v2s and the 1v1s. When they're interacting, at least. And currently Victor's just left lane, so... The
thing is, even though the trade went a little bit in the way of G2V, the CS advantage went to Sedrin, but here comes the gank attempt.
Yeah, a little bit of a slow reaction coming out from Mahado there. He's going to be taking the full end-of-line damage as the jungler comes in. They're going to be backing away. Just a bit of pressure onto that bot lane, but didn't get the full gank off. He was actually spotted by a ward just as he came in. Very unfortunate timing. It timed out just as he was walking over it.
Mid lane, you might look at that and be like, oh wow, Miniduke just lost out pretty heavily against MagiFelix. What Miniduke did there was step forward, clear out the wave, use his health and mana in exchange for pushing the wave back out to cost MagiFelix now the opportunity for Miniduke to recall, get himself back into the lane. and that puts the pressure now on Victor because the next recall timing, that teleport's available for Magiduke, and then he can even it up and take a further laning advantage in respect to that. So just trying to put the pressure onto Victor, give them more options out of that mid lane with the teleport available. As you can see now, they're back in lane on roughly even CS, but Miniduke has had the opportunity to back, get potions, and 2 extra Doran's rings.
So first stack of the game over to RVS, did manage to take that top Rift Scuttler. That is a fairly difficult sentence to say. And Miniduke, bot lane though, Hado take a bit of damage from Falco is going to be trading off against Sejuan. Both AD carries put damage onto the respective supports.
Yeah.
Mid lane, Miniduke has gone for triple Dorans instead of going towards his first item, whether that's the Abyssal Scepter or the Rod of Ages. So looking more for, generally that's a lane dominance build if you go for triple Doran's Ring.
Yeah, we've seen both. Little surprised. He could have gone the route that if people are going Abyssal, they go Negatron Cloak first. Yep. Could have gone that route because he did pick up pots as well on top of it. So certainly had the options to go towards either of those starting builds, but chooses the extra, you know, the mana regen, the AP, the health, that kind of thing. So.
It's fine for the early game. It's also fine for mid lane, for mid game rather, because in terms of the items you pick up as Lissandra, you're not getting a lot of components, so you're very slot efficient. So you can do this. It just means sometimes you're going without pots.
And now here is a little bit of an efficiency thing when it comes to the bottom lane as well that we're going to see turn out. Lucian, this new build with the Black Cleaver, with the Ghost Blade, has very opportunistic back timings because it builds out of long swords. You don't have to wait for a BF sword. You don't have to stack up gold. Now Caitlyn has just crested that BF sword part, so we'll be able to go back and get that, but it's going to pretty much mean that she can't afford too much more than that. Gets one ward, has you know, a bunch of health pots, still has one from earlier. But it's the fact that now Lucian can recall pretty much at any time and get that really opportunistic buy and get himself to that first item at any point. That's one of the reasons why we're seeing the Ghostblade build. We'll get into a couple more of the reasons as this game continues and they become apparent.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, because you just go back to base and you find longsword and you spam click it a bunch of times, and that's
I kind of build another one.
Something. Yeah, it's like you built 5, that's fine. That goes into Ghostblades and the rest of the components. Zendo, he's going to be hopping around in the top lane. Both level 6 now. Doesn't want to be going into Mega Gnar against the phones, really, if he goes in for that prolonged trade. But you can see what that matchup has done, a 12 CS advantage, so just around 2 waves over his counterpart. Mid lane, Miniduke, because of that play you mentioned earlier, Stress, he is just a little bit farther ahead of Magifelix, also in the mid lane. Bot lane is more even. We just saw them kind of trade blows back and forth, but the call has also been picked up by so we'll have a little bit more. Miniduke taking a lot of damage in the mid lane from Magifelix, just a QE combo coming out.
Yeah, so recall timing is on for Miniduke. Will he use his teleport is the key question here. We'll have it answered very shortly. We'll be able to go back and buy as well. Has 1200, so we'll have the answer to what route he's building.
Negatron.
Just in case Magifelix didn't know he was recalling, surprise, he got the vision of that as well in the middle lane right now, and that TP hasn't been used yet. Ace in the hole. Look at the damage already coming out, though, from the Caitlyn. Just trying to punish So in this early phase where this BF sword is going to be, you know, out-damaging when it comes to these harassment trades from long distance.
I mean, it's smart because that lane is never going to go for an all-in trade, and if you hit level 6 first, you might as well just shoot it out, get the harassment down. That's your whole goal as a Caitlyn in this lane, but that was a really good punch from Falco. In comes the culling onto Hado, and also Sejuan having to body block that, and another Cosmic Binding. Falco is really putting in some work in that trade, so evening up the odds in the bottom lane, but it's not going to matter if they can't get in there for a fight.
Yeah, nice punish. Didn't come from a neutral air, but at this point, Falco in the bottom lane is still putting out the damage. Oh, you should see the smile on Pulse's face right now.
So
I dropped one Smash Bros reference, and suddenly I'm apparently his best friend from the day. For the day, I dread to think if there's ever a tricast with you and Sifa.
Yeah, me,
with
Sifa, Falco, Fox in there as well.
Yeah, exactly. That would not be something that I would want to watch, but I'm glad we're watching this game right now, Pulse, because we get to watch this bot lane dynamic evolve even further. I'm wondering now when So goes back, when he picks up his Ghostblade, that really is one of those key moments for this Lucian build. You have that first item spike. It's cheaper than the Essence Reaver spike that we used to see. Gives him the same amount of AD, gives him the same amount of cooldown reduction as well. Just comes earlier. And you can pop that active. You can get yourself the extra attack speed as well. It's really nice. If you can out-trade Caitlyn, we'll have to watch as that goes. But it's top lane that we're watching right now. As Sendu's just like, don't want it anymore. Don't want this.
That's a really nice pillar coming out from Phones in the top lane. Mini Duke is getting chunked down by Obvious, looking for that third auto attack to finish off the E. And now he's kind of locked himself in place. Inkos luckily comes in from the side to save the day. End of the line going to be sidestepped quickly by both the retreating members. Falco going to be taking a fast magical journey out of here. We're back into this top lane now for this trade. Phones is getting some really nice pillars down onto Sendu. Forces the flash even in a losing lane. Uses the substigate. So I really like that from Phones in the 1v1.
Yeah, the better trade from Phones earlier didn't even use his subjugate on the first trade that we saw. That time subjugates early because Sendo, you know, he'll be thinking to himself, well, he's not going to subjugate me until I'm Mega Gnar, so I can afford to trade a little bit. But pops the subjugate because of how low Gna's health bar was as it is. And at that point, Gnar has to flash away. Cannot really afford to trade because he wasn't close enough to Mega to really ramp his crowd control up to take the trade.
Because generally Phones in that 1v1 should not be able to get like trades off at all, because as soon as he walks up to Sando, who was still auto-attacking and kiting around, then Sando comes in with his E, and the trade is just lost. But Phones was landing such good pillars that Sando was just getting punched over and over again, and Sando, I believe, didn't have his hop in that last trade, and chose to try and auto-attack anyway, so got punished for it, and rightly Phones came out ahead. Bot lane, Inkos is trying his best to clear out this minion wave, but that tower will be falling fairly quickly.
Yeah, and this is the problem, though, with having to face up against the Caitlyn. Doesn't matter how many long swords you can pick up on your build early. If you have to recall a lot, Caitlyn's going to push you in, going to deal damage to the turrets. So that is the downfall. Top lane, though, we're going to see Sendu and Phones trading once again. This time, Phones is not getting the best side of this.
Yeah, if Sendo can stay in range, or at least get the slow, yeah, he forces the flash coming in from Phones. Phones are too greedy. He was low on mana, didn't have the cooldowns, didn't have the health really to stay in there and get the extra wave. So
and actually hadn't recalled in a while. He was at 1500 health.
Yeah, he was only
1500 gold. Yeah, just had Ninja Tabby.
So a little bit unfortunate, but Phones just playing a little greedy in the top lane, trying to equalize the farm because Sendo is still ahead up there. That's actually kind of annoying because he is behind on the flash window now, so Sendo will have his flash up and the TP, so he'll be more effective if they fight during that time, either top lane or the rest of the map, so just need to play around that.
Look at Falco, he's...
no! The worst magical journey!
That's so painful.
It's so easy to do that as well, if you just, if you smart cast it.
Feels bad, man.
At least that ain't Falco, but at least he found a chime on the way down, so it was intentional.
That right there is the most like small silver lining.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh, chime, nice. I wouldn't have found this if I hadn't have messed up my. Finds Janna.
He is being found out, but Obvious was there, and the Cosmic Binding comes across, or rather Lucian with a full charge culling. Collateral damage onto Hado, but yeah, Falco actually stopped chasing, and because So also wasn't in range, they just couldn't pick up the kill. Unfortunate.
Oh, it looked so good because they had that interaction where if the first part of the Cosmic Binding lands and the second doesn't, watch that mid lane.
Well, both ultimates have been used by the mid laners. Falco's coming in looking for a Cosmic Binding, does not connect. Obvious coming in from the front door, is not able to chase down the retreating Bard or Inkos. And Mini Duke will clear out this wave as well. So it had a lot of fights, a lot of skirmishes. So it's he's trying to trap him inside. He's managed to break out of the box, and now he's actually hitting the minions and not Sedruin. So he's going to come out far ahead of that trade.
Is that So or Rorschach? You're not locked in. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me at that point. Just walks forward and says, I don't care for your traps.
Fantastic. Inkos, he's going to chase after Phones, get the end of the line damage, and doesn't get the rest of it. But I'm so happy that happened. Like, I've never seen a Caitlyn try and trap in someone before with traps, but now I have, and I'm very happy.
If only she had... I mean, it's too early in the game yet to have 5 in W. Already has 4 points in W, so
he's
doesn't quite
maxing
have...
W,
he's maxing W just for the
this
trap
one play.
It's like, I knew this would come in handy once.
Yeah.
But didn't have the 5th, so couldn't quite complete the pentagon.
Otherwise, he would have got him. He would have had to walk through a trap for a little bit extra damage from a headshot, and it was just like, it was worth.
If he managed to like layer the 5th one, is that like where the the hand of Exodia comes through and just like grabs Lucian?
I think so. Maybe that's the headshot.
Like a pentagram kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh dear, that was one of the funniest things I've seen today.
That was fantastic. Well, Falco and Inkos are heading into the top lane and going to be clearing out this pink ward. Falco has just found that one, but there are 4 people converging on the top lane coming in from base from EURONICS. And Falco, that was the magical journey he was looking for. Inkos is going to take the long route, though. Mid lane, MagiFelix is going to head towards his blue buff, and he's like, where's my jungler? Why isn't he setting this up for me? Because he's top lane, looking for something to happen. Got the duo lane here with Obvious. Don't have any real good CC, though, so I'm not really sure what Obvious is looking for. MagiFelix takes down the blue buff himself, but here comes the invade from Falco and Miniduke, sitting right on top of a ward, however, so has been spotted out. 14 minutes into this game, EURONICS and G2V have not found a single kill, and there is only 200 gold separating them. It really is just that one tower that went over to EURONICS, so a lot of that has been equalized by the farm advantage from top lane and mid lane. That was an unfortunate ultimate.
That's a little... I had to laugh at that. It's just like, hey, at least the minions are pushing up on the tower. We can take it. Oh.
Sorry about that.
Nice attempt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the thought process. Just a little bit off on the actual execution, but still. G2 Vodafone looking for the plays. They've now got themselves that Ghostblade on the Lucian. Mid lane, though, there is so much trading back and forth between the Victor and the Lissandra. So we started Abyssal Scepter on the Lissandra. Going to see the Zhonya's come out, I would imagine, second item. I noticed Selfie today actually changed his build-up, didn't go for the 50% CDR build. Yeah. Still was as successful as the 50% over CDR
Maybe more
build.
Successful. He was very good today.
So I still think the CDR boots we're going to see because of the TP cooldown. Oh, Phones get slammed into the wall.
He finds Sandu and will follow after, but I think he already used the substigate. That was probably one of the best scenarios for Toronto. Going to hold that fort as Falco takes a bit of damage in the top lane. This line of traps is keeping G2V
Lucian
at bay. He walks into it, takes the headshot, takes the Piltover. Culling will be used to zone them away. Takes another headshot. Did you know when you walk in traps, you get headshotted by Caitlyn?
Yeah. Even got the Hurricane proc on that one as well.
Well, this tower is probably going to fall on the next wave. There's not enough wave clear coming in from this lane, really. Cedrian's going to start hitting away at it. Hado lands the shield on top of him as well. There we go.
I feel like you're a glass half empty person. It's probably going to fall on the next wave. Like a 300 health turret with a Caitlyn there.
Yeah.
So,
and a Janna. It fell. So
it did. Well, maybe you're glass half empty.
Yeah.
Optimism.
Well, Sandu and Phones in the bot lane, still trading away. Not a particularly interesting lane, I've got to be honest. Phones is still getting chunked down, and that's generally how this lane goes. Rifhelda's still up. Another 3 minutes until that one despawns, so someone is gonna take it, or should take it.
You would hope. It only spawns once, so it kind of is like missing out. The old one, it would be like, well, maybe we should take it.
Yeah.
It'll run out in a couple of minutes. It's fine. Let's not really get too much from this. This is like a 20-minute buff. If you get this right, like before that 20-minute mark, you have that till like just before 40, and that means you get all of the Baron buffs to stack in with it. Look, I'm stupid sometimes, Pulse. Is this engage stupid?
No. The second ultimate around for Falco not to really pan out. Sandu, I'm not even sure if he got in range, he could have done anything. Actually, he did have the ultimate, so Falco just kind of tempered fate to his own ally and allowed Phones to escape. So they still got the bottom tower. They still managed to get that one for themselves. Cedrian's going to find So in the top lane. This is maybe the revenge that Lucian was looking for.
Oh, double TP coming through.
Coming through
one got cancelled.
Neither one gets cancelled, so...
Well, there is somewhat of a problem for G2 Vodafone in this game, or at least that may become apparent, is that when you look at how their team is going to scale throughout this game, they've got to deal with a Caitlyn, they've got to deal with a Victor that in the later game tend to do fairly well. There are some limitations to this... the Lucian build with the Black Cleaver, with the Ghostblade. Generally, they only rear their heads when there are super tanks in the game. The fact that there's only really one champion that's going to be somewhat tanky in this game, and that's going to be the Trundle on the side of ESG, makes this Ghostblade build actually still fine. Because you're still reducing a whole lot of armor off champions that aren't really wanting to build armor, it means you're dealing a lot of damage even in the late game.
Exactly, because it's flat penetration on the first item you pick up, so you're basically doing almost true damage to the squishy targets.
Whereas if you're against a tank, that's when like Last Whisper becomes a better choice, because you're dealing, based on bonus armor rather than, total armor.
That is the correct statement. And then you have the Black Cleaver as well, and you shred all the resistances. We saw yesterday the culling, because it's on physical damage, not just auto attacks. The culling will just shred your resistances super fast.
Yeah, stacks up to that 6 stacks. You've got 30% less armor.
Yep, and the rest of the culling will detonate you. Mini Duke pumps the ultimate on top of himself. He's going to walk straight into a trap. Cedrin has set it up on top of him. Headshot, first blood over to Caitlyn.
It's the first kill of the game just before 20 minutes, but ESG have got this longish range composition where this Caitlyn is just going to be able to take anybody down that steps on a trap. So at this point, ESG, they're just going to focus down that third tower of the game now, pushing on towards this mid turret. It's already so very low, it's going to die. Rift Herald does not even get taken in this game. Rip Rift Herald, you were here for nothing.
Yep. Probably a good day for Herald, though, because he didn't die.
We haven't even seen a dragon in this game.
That is true.
We've seen neither.
What is the dragon? Is it
dragon
Cloud?
is Cloud.
Of course it is. You're casting, so it's Cloud.
We'll have to ask Sifa whether it's Cloud, Ocean, Cloud.
Oh, that's true, yeah. I mean, I thought Falco would have been all over that, but apparently not. So Phones is going to be walking up here. He's going to be walking past the Cloud Drake. How are you doing, Cloud?
Can we rename... Oh, no, that's a terrible joke.
Okay, okay.
No.
Let's just bail.
There was a Final Fantasy VII joke in there, and I'm like, I stopped myself early. I'm like, no.
All right. Well, okay, the thought process was there. We just have to assume it was a good joke, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
Tempered Fate onto Cedrin. Falco over the wall. So's coming in. Exhaust comes down. Hado is trying to save his ally. Good Howling Gale onto 2 players. Monsoon was maybe a little bit overkill as Obvious comes in. A headshot lands and the crit onto Falco, but that's the tower falling. Going to be getting the gold on the way out. Inkos is coming down from the bottom side of the river. Magic Felix coming in as well, but the Magical Journey. And Magic Felix, yeah, you don't want to take that Magical Journey.
No.
Walking away from his allies. So ultimately, no kills go down, but the tower over to G2V.
Oh, Mini Duke's got to be careful. He's stayed a little too long. Does have the claw available. Will get himself out. That Howling Gale, I like to feel, is, you know that film Wanted, where they could like curve the bullets? That's like Hado being like, I've got this. Don't worry, I'll curve the lasers. Not sure lasers work that way.
Okay.
Or at least light that Lucian fires.
The
so
light.
I guess you could refract it, but...
maybe that's what he's looking for with the Monsoon, I don't know. But Mini Duke, he's going to turn the corner. Oh, where's my Raptors? Where's my Wolves? He wants to get out of here. He's going to jump away, but the rest of the team is going to go in. He's in there with his own ultimate. Magic Felix, everyone trying to stay alive inside the circle, but Hado is going to fall. So takes him down. The flash of a wall from Obvious will finish off that kill. Falco trying to make a fast retreat. 2-1. The advantage over to EURONICS.
And right now for G2V, it seems to be a fairly similar problem to yesterday when it came to any fights that they do seem to take, seem to be the bad ones right now against ESG, because that fight was not a good one to take for Mini Duke. He followed up on his E onto targets that were going to be within a Kindred ultimate anyway and tried to lock them down. It results in ESG being able to take the fight and take the mid turret. Oh, here goes
Sendo. It's his time to shine. Big ultimate onto 3 players, but unfortunately there's no follow-up. Wallop onto the minion. Inkos now comes into the fight. Falco as well, but that looked amazing, but if there'd been one more person there, that would have been a quadra.
Yeah, anybody else would have been good for G2V right there as well. A nice pillar to stop Inkos running through that small little alleyway between the turret and the wall. Here, let's take another look at this fight, because look, there's 4 people from ESG here, and you can see G2 Vodafone want to take this fight. Na was on the bottom side in mini-Na form, and TP's in somewhat later on in this fight. So this fight's already carrying on right now, and you can see Hado has fallen, but so has Lissandra, and that's a fair amount of the damage. Keep in mind, Obvious, playing this damage roll out of the jungle as well, was able to just hop over the wall, clean up the 1 kill, and keep things going. But right now, ESG, they have a decent lead. It's not a game-winning lead, and here comes the double stun.
He's looking for it, lands onto Hado, lands onto Obvious. That could have not been more perfect from Falco. Oh, that could have been more perfect. Mini Duke goes down. But apart from that, very good play, 2 for 1, and the mid lane turret. If Mini Duke had only not died, I don't think he needed to cast the ultimate on himself. That was probably his downfall, because he was way behind the rest of the team on the retreat.
I'm trying to figure out, Pulse, whether Mini Duke just feels like he needed more AP, or whether he bought a needlessly large rug, forgetting it doesn't build into Zhonya's anymore. I'm gonna double check, actually. Because that money should really have gone into the Seekers. He did buy the needlessly before anything else, so which would be very obscure, looking at how crucial Zhonya's Hourglass typically is for Lissandra. So
okay, maybe the first back he was like, I want this item, and then realized he wanted the Zhonya's hourglass afterwards. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to see a repeat of that fantastic Tempered Fate.
Well, there's the one they've been looking for. two weren't so great. Yeah. Third one is the Charm. At this point, though, Miniduke was caught out, didn't have his flash available, so it was pretty much just the end of that chapter for him.
But had he cast the ultimate on the targets being blown up, he would have been able to get there, get out of there. So he's been doing that a lot in those fights where he's been casting on himself. Actually, in the last fight, if he cast on MagiFelix before he flashed, that would have resulted in him not dying as well. So
hey, Pulse.
What's that?
You know what's good right now?
What is good?
Black Cleaver. You know what's better than Black Cleaver?
What's better than Black Cleaver?
3 Black
on one team. G2V. AD carry, top lane, and jungle. Who else can get one? Falco can get one.
So what that means is all of them just basically have to like
hit different targets.
Somebody, hit different targets, like hit whatever you can, and nobody's gonna have armor.
Yeah.
You can only go up to that 30%. It's not like they have
6
like
stacks.
it's not like they're gonna get like 90% damage reduction. Sorry, 90% armor reduction.
That would suck.
Be like, hey, you're only 10% of your
I do believe they
valid.
stack on top of each other, so you can help someone else stack. Cedrin is going to be dropping low. Collateral damage. There's not much more to say about the bot lane who just disintegrated. Obvious. Gets caught in with Inkos, but with Miniduke over the wall, he's going to bide some time with Lamb's Respite before dropping himself over to G2V. Inkos is going to find that kill, but 3 fast kills, all being set up by Falco and the rest of the team, is going to allow this Baron to be taken. That's the culling. So wants to damage the Baron, but doesn't want to get in range of the Chaos Storm coming out from MagiFelix. So
this game has turned around fairly spectacularly. The last 2 fights that G2V actually picked up have gone their way. At this point, can MagiFelix just deal enough damage to stop G2V?
Everyone's very low. He just picked up the first kill. Baron's still got 1,000 health left on it. Inkos is going to drop. This is going to be a triple. The quadra kill from MagiFelix. And he's able to finish off the Baron
as well.
700 health remaining. The laser, the auto attacks, and with Senno coming in, they're going to fight over the Baron. And the ground field comes out. They're both for 1 hit. MagiFelix with the sidestep. Hadal's now coming in. And no one takes the Baron with 150 health remaining.
Not only that, MagiFelix could have had a pentakill. If he'd have like autoed once or twice more, if he'd have been able to get it. That totally would have been worth. That would have been so worth at that point to get a pentakill. Oh, I was just about to praise G2 Vodafone for the last couple of fights going their way. So this was Cedrin getting caught out. Again, a lot of this has been built off the fact that ESG have been out of position the last couple of minutes. This time, Obvious gets locked down within the Tempered Fate, forced to use his own ultimate just to soak up a little bit more time from G2V, and ultimately, that extra time turned out to be enough to stop them from taking the Baron, because this was so incredibly low. MagiFelix right now uses that ultimate just to try and zone people out. This is kind of almost like Wheel of Fortune. You don't know where the damage is going to stop on the timer in that ultimate. It just kind of shifts itself over. And here's where things go a little crazy. Because, I mean, G2V know they're mostly dead here. In fact, if they kill this, the only person that gets it is Na right now.
Yeah.
But they just didn't have the damage to finish it off. So MagiFelix himself can't deal with it. So was there the time to get the Penta in this? Because they readjust.
Yep.
Oh, that's so a Penta. Oh.
Because he just needs to sidestep the Q, and even the travel time's not going to kill him anyway.
But the thing is, he did also need the distance between Nara and himself to sidestep that Q. Because it was on target.
But at the very least, they go 1 for 1, because the auto attack is faster than the projectile of Q from Sendo. So MagiFelix just a little bit too defensive. When you're in that situation, you just gotta go in, man. Obvious, he's been called out. No follow-up from the Glacial Path. The teleport has also been cancelled in from phones, but Sendo does choose to complete his own, looking for MagiFelix. Doesn't quite make it happen. A laser comes across. Falco's very low from that last engagement.
Man, I'm the kind of player that would have been like, I'm going to try and get this
Me too.
Pentakill.
I mean, that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? And MagiFelix is like, I'd just rather be unkilled and get away.
But he got neither, right? Like, he didn't get the Penta
he
and he didn't get the Baron.
Pulse.
I know, but he had
stopped
like
the
two of the biggest things. You get like a Baron steal or you get like a Penta, right? And he got...
I mean, let's be real. He was nearly in a situation where he got all 3.
That's true.
Like, had he had a little bit more help... Or like, had he had Barrier, obviously he took Cleanse into Lissandra, it's fine. This is just me like joking around a little bit. He could have legitimately had a pentakill, took the Baron, and got away with his life. Like, whew, that would have been
The god play.
Because if he was running Dangerous Game and his auto comes out first and he gets the kill, he gets the 5% back.
Yeah. Actually, if he was running it, he killed 4 people. So he would have been on like 20% health. So it's good mastery. MagiFelix, he's still 6-0 and 2 in this game and has contributed in every single kill in this game.
Just nitpicking on his not getting a penta.
1 versus 4, but he could have gotten the penta kill. MagiFelix, you're doing a good job.
Some days I feel like we're too harsh on people, Pulse.
Maybe, but this is EU. We train our players hard.
And
hard
then
love,
I guess they need to take... Just carry on.
Yeah, okay, so MagiFelix, he's just going to be clearing out the jungle, going back to base. How much gold has he got? Actually, I'm going to check. He has 2,000... no, he does not. He does not. He just used it. So
he did just use it. It's okay, Pulse, don't worry.
Okay, 700 gold. You can see on the screen. Actually, he's not got that much more gold over Mini-Duke than they expected he would.
I mean, he did just get most of that back.
That is
let's
true.
be real.
Okay, all right.
He was at a deficit for the majority. Hado, forced the flash.
Good culling.
Yeah, just tickling him.
It's annoying because that minus 200 range nerf they received several patches ago, that would have hit otherwise.
Can you imagine how broken this build with Lucian would be now if he had that extra 200 range?
There's so many times when you see actually the culling just out of range of people. I don't know whether that's because that's like the threat range you generally have, or because players are used to it. Good ultimate over the wall, but that's going to be insta-cleanse from MagiFelix. That's the 3rd proc of Hyper coming off from Sendo, so it's going to be dealing a little bit more damage there.
For the record, you know that disappointing feeling when your culling just misses? You get that more frequently now if you play Talia, because you can just throw your Q out and then it misses all 5 and you're like,
now I'm mini Lucian.
Meant to do it. I wanted the mana back off my next Q.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Talia's a very fun champion to play, but she's not going to be available here. No. I believe she is going to be available for NA's CSQ.
Oh, so is that confirmation?
Yeah, I believe so, but we'll see about that one. And then Inkos and Mini-Duke are going to be finding Obvious, and not going to be killing him. Smite comes out, it goes over to Obvious. Okay, so blue buff over to Kindred. And we'll be backing away here. So that's actually Asterix now picked up by Obvious. So he's going for a very older Kindred build where you go for the damage items, the Hurricane, and then into like the more Malmortius and Asterix Gauge.
Yes, makes you more difficult to kill. And honestly, that's what EURONICS have decided they want for this game. Caitlyn with the Phantom Dancer, the similar kind of vein where it's just like, well, you are going to reduce my base armor, so I'm just going to get damage reduction. Yeah. Like, just give me something back. That's all I need. So
that was the first dragon of the game, by the way.
Yeah, Cloud Dragon did go over.
Cloud is dead. And EURONICS will back away onto their side of the map. So still got that gold advantage very slightly, and despite all the shenanigans around Baron, the momentum didn't really swing in anyone's favor. So we're still kind of in this situation at 31 minutes where no one is making the proactive move because they don't necessarily have the advantage.
As you say that.
They are pushing in the mid lane. MagiFelix is caught out by the Tempered Fate from Falco. Follow-up, Duke comes in with the W, the ult, the shutdown over to Inkos. Seno comes in with his own ultimate, and Hado, he doesn't even get a chance to move. Sedrin is going to be the last man standing, but not for long. He's out of there. Phones, where is he at? Quite a long way away. Not good reception in this game. They're going to be chasing down the mid lane, going to take away this tower. Sendo, he's going to be tanking up this tower as the minion wave comes in. They could take a lot from this push. 30 seconds on the death timer from a lot of the big carries on this team. This will be an inhib for sure.
Yeah, this is inhib, and this fight really has just broken this game apart because, man, G2V were looking a little shaky in some of the fights, but this time they catch out ESG, they catch out MagiFelix to begin the fight, and then the damage from Victor just not available to clean up, and G2V didn't lose anybody in that engagement there. And man, you know, it's a weird one because these teams have been back and forth on actually how they've been fighting, whether it's been a good fight or a bad fight. These bad ultimates, as the game opened up, have started to become better and better. At this point, MagiFelix didn't have his flash available. No real way of getting away from that Bard ultimate. It's that range that's super difficult to actually maneuver through. And from there, G2V just follow it up again and again. Target selection very easy at that point when you're just running through the enemy. It's just whoever's close enough to me, lock them down and burst them down and win that fight. So for G2V, they've cracked open that mid inhibitor. That's going to open up the path to that really easy Baron, honestly. Although the last one should have been fairly easy, and then in came MagiFelix. So maybe it won't be so easy.
Oh, last auto attack, and I think that went over to Obvious. Yeah, miss smite from Inkos.
Flash is down now though, so that means any attempt at a Baron steal is a one-way trip for Obvious.
Indeed. Okay, so now setting around this Baron area, trying to put this vision down. Me and Duke's going to pop over the wall. And what are we doing in terms of items as well? So is going to go for that Lucian build we've been seeing a lot of recently. The Black Cleaver build on top of the Rapid Fire Cannon. On the opposite side, Caitlin's gone for the Phantom Dancer, in fact, on top of the rest of her build. So going to be looking for more of that crit as the traditional, I guess, AD carry build, where you go for the crit and the AD. G2V started off the Baron. You know there's no vision in there because of the pink ward. And actually, I think they all jumped over the wall out of range of the Risk Scuttler. So only now ESG are pointing onto the fact that they're on this Baron. Ward over the wall, and that was really heads-up play from G2V, taking the Baron away, skirting around the vision from the Rift Scuttler. Yeah,
able to just get themselves to that objective pretty much unseen, and from there, this actually should be a fairly simple close to this game. They've got both teleports available, so can play on multiple lanes if they want to right now, and ESG have to figure out which lane they want to, or at least which 2 lanes they want to defend. The problem is Magifelix now up against a Baron buff, can't really do too much in the way of wave clear. Those melee minions are just going to survive through the laser fairly effectively.
Yeah.
And that means G2 have options available, and they are going to play mostly on 3 lanes right now. Right now you can see Lissandra kind of bouncing into the jungle, into the mid lane, seeing exactly where things are at.
Oh, looks like...
Oh, they drew... Hang on, they drew 2 people mid. All the wave clear came mid. They thought it was going to be Lissandra that was pushing it in. And look, what that does is open up top lane for G2V. That's something that shouldn't really happen, is Caitlyn and Victor in the late game shouldn't have to be in the same wave, but because of the Baron buff, it means that only really Caitlyn has that wave clear. But look, they get to the top side just in time, get a big chunk of damage down onto Lucian.
Yeah, it's because of that Cloud Dragon that they picked up earlier with the extra 15 movement speed out of combat.
I guess it was, Pulse. But nobody is dealing with Gnar in the bottom lane.
No, no one is. That tower's going to go down, but the defensive line of traps is still up by Cedrian. He's got a very nice... it's going to put some damage onto Duke as well, but it's very symmetrical. It's very perfectly placed. Puts a lot of care into his trap placement. Because some people just kind of, it's like a jagged line of traps, and it's just like, yeah, okay, but he puts a lot of care into it. Probably a Farmville player at some point in his life. And planting those down. Falco, a lot of damage onto him. I'd like to see him join in as well and put down some Caretaker Shrines as well to just decorate those
create
traps.
Circles.
That's correct, yeah. Magifelix has been left to 2 of these minions.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, they've just tied up from the Baron buffers. Someone did step away, but it means that everyone's now pushing in. The bot tower's being pushed in, top's being pushed in as well. And because they've already cracked open the inhib tower of EURONICS, they can kind of push into the base now. Inkos is getting chunked down. Sendo is probably going to have to hop away here. That's the TB coming in from the top lane. Out from Mini Duke.
Coming out,
out from the mid lane. Well, the top lane, the mid laner.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out who it was at first. I'm like,
we found out it's Mini Duke. Cedrian took a fair beating from the culling, but ESG are being shoved in. We've been in this situation before, though, and we've seen that ESG have very good team fighting.
But it's just time and time again. Oh, Nars going aggressive.
He's getting unaggressive. Top lane is now being shoved in. That inhib should be falling, but it's trapped them in. Obviously, they're going to go around it. But so he walks into it anyway. Here comes the Tempered Fate and Hado. Probably not long for this world. In fact, obvious he's going to pop his own ultimate. Cedrian, he's trying to put some damage down from long range. Monsoon comes up. Here come the kills, flooding in from left and right. But actually, So and Falco will be falling. Mini Duke will also drop down. Double kill out from Magifelix. Inkos is trying to make something happen while all that was going on in the top lane. Managed to sweep out the bottom tower. So Phones is going 1 versus 1 against Sendo. He's just trying to get the inhibit so low. He really wants this to happen. Magifelix also zoning away in the bot lane, and EURONICS have managed to hold.
They've held. Oh, hang on. Here goes Cedrian. He wants the rest of this.
He's on the hook.
He's not going to get it.
No, he's got no slow.
No, he has no real way of locking him down. That was a little bit of an overpush just from G2V because they couldn't get Cedrian off the map to start that fight out. And that's the difference, though, between the traditional AD carry crit build, which is going to be better late game, just in general. So's going to be so reliable on hitting Piercing Light, getting his actual abilities to do the damage for him, because his auto attacks just don't cut it. He's not opted for any crit either, so he's just going flat AD and looking for those Piercing Lights to just chunk through people. Elder Dragon has spawned. And this, realistically, considering there was no other dragons taken in this game other than one Cloud Dragon,
that's true,
isn't going to multiply much, but still will give over that buff that the Elder Dragon's going to have. Here's the fight.
Inkos comes in, pops collateral damage. Phones is quite a big threat at this stage, and now he's got these traps to run through to try and escape. He's taken such a big beating out from G2, but eventually they're able to chunk him down. Obvious, Magic Felix were already taken out too far that they couldn't really do much to help their ally there. Sedrin and Hado will try and hold the line. 50 seconds remaining on Phones. There's maybe curtains out from EURONICS.
And the problem is there's 3 exposed inhibitors in favor of G2V right now, so whichever lane they pick and go up to, it's going to be fairly difficult for ESG to hold on if they actually do look to defend, but this is even G2V pulling back away from this. So here's what I would like to say, the Microsoft Paint syndrome, when you hit that fill tool and you're like, I got it, fill it, and then the color just bleeds through because you left a tiny hole. It's the worst. And that was the re-engage came out from G2V right there. Sendo got himself into the fight, got in the mix and hit multiple people, but the problem was Sedrin had already been dealing the damage off the side with Magic Felix as well, held the inhibitor, and that actually is critical now, because from the last fight that G2V took, if that inhibitor had been down, they would have been able to easily pressure out the rest of them, but ESG is still looking aggressive in this middle lane. Back and forth are the fights in this game, but it's G2V that have had a big lead for a while now. They just have not been able to close. Over-aggressive a couple of times too many.
And now actually EURONICS are pushing out of their base and are now shoving in, so maybe they can make something happen. But this game is really up in the air. I mean, yes, there is a 7,000 gold lead. There's a lot of towers over to G2V, and the base is very much exposed. But the 2 Nexus turrets are still alive from EURONICS, and they're pushing into this mid lane. So really, it's come down to the stage at 39 minutes into this game, where if there's a 5-man wipe, it's going to go whoever wins that fight.
Yeah, it's pretty much one fight decides the game. Traps have been set up.
Yep.
This looks like the line of scrimmage.
Line,
it's just like, I've got this.
Yeah.
Problem is he's not blocked because of where the line is. He can't really block too many. The side entrance is great catch.
Onto Sedrin and Hado. Inkos comes in with a big ultimate mini jig looking for his own. Will pop it on top of himself. He's not going to go down. Magic Felix will get detonated by Inkos. Sedrin is going to bite the dust. And Falco will be the only one dropping out from G2V as they close in on Phones to sweep ESG. And now all that is remaining is for G2V to push down the mid lane.
Oh, and that was such a good catch after what looked to be very sketchy Bard engages in the early game. Falco hit 3 that were really critical in this game. The follow-up came from Mini Duke and actually forced a very early ultimate from Obvious. Came out right as Lissandro was about to arrive, and they just held on the damage. They didn't use the damage early, and that meant by the time Obvious's ult had expired, in came the burst, everybody dies, and G2V are going to put themselves on the board with a win here.
Kind of slowly because there's no minion wave here yet, so they're going to have to wait for that one to arrive. Kind of anticlimactic to close out this game. Hado will respawn, but that shield didn't do a lot, honestly. G2V are just now on to the next, so trying to pad the stats as well and take the win over EURONICS Gaming.
It was a bit of a weird game overall. Yeah. We had, you know, the trap line, trying to box people in. Yep. I liked what ESG were trying to do. I liked the lane dominance approach. I liked what they wanted, but G2 Vodafone, they started actually getting the fight setups that they needed. With this team fight composition, the Bard ult into the Lissandra, into the Na, and as soon as that actually started landing, of course they're going to take team fights from there. As long as they catch Sedrian, there's almost no real way of ESG actually out-fighting them.
I think we kind of know their style now. From even yesterday when they found a good fight around Dragon, I think G2V are really flourish when it comes to those team fights and when they can get good setups to them, because the standard ultimates were on point. Maybe he could have used more of them on opponents and not himself, because ironically that actually secured his death a lot of the time. Top lane was like 0-0-12, I think. So yeah, great performance out of the top lane, but just played well as a team. Yes, they kind of got stalled out by EURONICS by being a little too aggressive, so their macro game could use some work. But yeah, if they can get into those team fights, G2V very, very solid. Very solid, but I mean, nearly man of the match for Victor. Very close. Very close. Oh, if he got all 3, even if they lost, it would have been fine. You get a pentakill, a Baron steal, and just manage to kill everyone by yourself. I mean, you're just man of the match regardless of what happens. That would have been so good. He was like literally so close. He was like, what, maybe 50 health away on that now, one auto attack, and just gotta commit. Even if you fail, you go down in a blaze of glory, and it's still fine. It's still like a highlight reel moment. But if you run away from that point, then no one's gonna use that clip of you, like, you know?
Yeah.
Just the part where he picks up the quadra and then cut the tape.
Stop nothing else. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is if you get the penta and then you cut the tape as well, it's just like...
That's also true. See? There's all these things, so just commit. If you're in that position, just commit. Just commit.
Imagine Felix what could have been in that game.
The greatest play of the century. Well, while the team's set up for the next match, we're going to take a quick break, so we'll be back right after this.